Our management is about to turn difficult cuts into strategic negotiations that could bring valuable reinforcements or new options for our franchise before the start of the season. Our general manager has identified high-value athletes who are at risk of being released from the final roster, including an experienced quarterback pressure specialist and players from various positions who could be traded instead of simply being waived. While management works behind the scenes to extract maximum value from these moves, a young defender from our secondary is starring in a spectacular turnaround on the field. After a disappointing season, this athlete has regained his high performance level and has been brought back into the coaching staff's plans as a piece capable of shifting the balance of our defense. I will reveal shortly who the tradable names on the roster are and which defender has resurfaced to transform our back end. Give your like on the video. It's just one click and it helps me a lot. Peters will have a few days to reduce the roster from 90 to 53 players. Some athletes may move to the practice squad, but several will finish their time with the organization. Washington has good options at some positions, and this creates a positive problem. Capable players may find themselves without space. Before simply waiving them, the general manager should check if another franchise would be willing to offer something in return. During this offseason, Peters preferred a more traditional build and did not make many trades. That may change now. If an athlete is not in the main plans, a draft pick or a useful piece from another position would be better than losing the player for nothing. The decision requires caution because any negotiation needs to benefit the present without harming the roster's depth. Treylon Burks is one of the names that may attract interest. The receiver arrived last season on a one-year contract that can reach $4 million in incentives. Burks showed potential, but his summer was more subdued than that of other candidates. David Blau seems to trust the player, and that might be enough to keep him. Even so, the competition in the receiving group is very tight. Terry McLaurin and Stefon Diggs have guaranteed spots. Antonio Williams, Luke McCaffrey, and Jalen Lane are also expected to remain. After them, there are a few opportunities left for Jaden Bradley, Jacoby Jones, Diami Brown, Van Jefferson Jr., and Burks. If the staff chooses other names, Peters may try to find a franchise interested before the final cut. Perhaps the return will be small, but it would still be better than nothing. Jordan Magee is in a more complicated situation. The linebacker is behind Frankie Louvu, Leo Chenal, and Sonny Styles in the defensive rotation. The possibility of playing on special teams exists, but Alakaho and Kane Medrano are also competing for that spot. With the retirement of Nick Bellore, a vacancy emerged, and the two lesser-known contenders took advantage of the preseason to get noticed. Magee is still recovering from an injury and has missed important repetitions. This is particularly detrimental when the player needs to prove he deserves to stay. His athletic ability is clear, but availability also weighs in the decision. Some franchises need reliable linebackers, and a trade could offer Magee a better opportunity than waiting for a release in Washington. Diami Brown has received a new chance after a mostly unproductive stint with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Peters still believes in the receiver's talent, and Brown worked hard over the summer to rebuild his connection with Jaden Daniels. The North Carolina player has shown dedication and had good moments in practice, but the challenge remains showing up when the game calls for a decisive play. The choice of a third-round pick in 2021 has experience and has already shown it can perform in a professional offense. The problem is turning positive periods into consistency. If Brown does not make the 53-man roster, a trade for a low pick or a direct player swap could be considered. For Washington, it would be a way to recoup some value from an athlete who can still help in another organization. Will Harris may also be part of these discussions. The safety signed a 2-year deal last year, but his first season in Washington was marred by injuries. His athleticism seems to have diminished, and his positioning during practices has raised doubts. At the same time, Tyler Owens and Quan Martin have progressed, Nick Cross brought experience, and Jeremy Reeves remains important. Percy Butler may secure a spot due to his contributions on special teams. This combination puts Harris in a delicate position. If the Commanders waive or trade the veteran, they will save $3.76 million against the salary cap, although they will incur $1 million in dead money. The financial aspect may increase Peters' interest in hearing offers. Van Jefferson Jr. is another receiver with trade potential. The veteran had a respectable preseason, showed speed to stretch the field, and developed better chemistry with Daniels. His track record is also more proven than that of several competitors. This could help him stay, but there isn't room for everyone, and the front office must decide which profiles fit best with Blau's plan. If Jefferson is left out, some franchise might be interested in his experience. McLaurin, Diggs, Williams, McCaffrey, and Lane should occupy the top spots. Bradley and Jones could return to the practice squad. The final battle involves Jefferson, Brown, and Burks, and any of them could become a trade piece if Peters receives a reasonable offer. Dorrance Armstrong Jr. rounds out the list. The pass rusher is recovering from an injury and will be suspended for the first game. The veteran had a strong season before tearing his ACL and is now trying to regain lost ground. Washington has bolstered the position with Owe, Chason, Joshua Josephs, and Javonte Jean-Baptiste, making the rotation deeper. Owe and Chason are expected to lead the edges, while Josephs was one of the surprises of the summer. Jean-Baptiste also appears healthy after missing a significant part of 2025. Armstrong has experience, but is in the last year of his contract and will be out for the opener. If another franchise offers something significant, Peters might consider a trade, although that possibility is less likely. These 6 names are not necessarily doomed. The idea is to recognize that Washington has players capable of attracting interest. The management needs to evaluate who has real space, who can contribute in specific roles, and who is worth more as a trade asset. The final cut will not just be a list of dispensals, it could also be an opportunity to reorganize the future. As Peters assesses these possibilities, Quan Martin is trying to ensure that his own story does not end in Washington. The safety came into the preseason with many questions after a frustrating season. Selected in the second round of the 2023 draft from Illinois, Martin needed to show he could still be an important part of the defense. The change in defensive coordinator helped. With Durante Jones, Martin seems more comfortable in his responsibilities. The player had good moments in training camp and was more efficient during the preseason games. So far, he has recorded 2 interceptions, showing an improvement that was not often seen in the previous campaign. Martin also fits better into Jones's concepts. The defense requires reading, speed, and the ability to change roles before the snap. The safety seems more alert, reacts more quickly, and shows confidence to attack the ball. There are still flaws, but the performance has been enough to diminish the idea that his career was in definitive decline. Washington did not bolster the position much this offseason. Nick Cross was the main signing, and Peters did not select any safeties in the 2026 draft. This decision drew criticism, but also created an opportunity for Martin. The organization did not bring in many external competitors, making it clear that there is still space for the player to regain confidence. The 2025 season had been presented as a possible rise, but the outcome was disappointing. Martin lost playing time, and the Commanders were right to take him off the front line. Now, the safety is in the last year of his contract and needs to turn good summer plays into consistency during the regular season. A resurgence will not be confirmed by just 2 interceptions. The difference between Martin and other players is that the coaching staff still sees potential. Jones seems to be getting more out of the defenders than the previous coordinator, Joe Witt Jr. Few athletes managed to evolve clearly in the old system. If Martin continues to grow, he could become one of the greatest examples of Jones's impact on individual development. Fans, however, have reason to remain cautious. The organization has created expectations about Martin before, and reality did not match the hype. Now, it will be necessary to see production against prepared offenses, correct decisions in tough moments, and the ability to avoid mistakes that cost yards. The player deserves recognition for his response, but he still needs to prove that this improvement is not temporary. The presence of Cross could also help. A safety capable of playing close to the line frees Martin for deeper coverage or different responsibilities. Jeremy Reeves adds experience, while Owens competes for space with athleticism and value on special teams. This variety allows Jones to create specific combinations for each opponent. If Martin confirms his evolution, the defense will gain a piece that many already considered lost. The safety knows the league, has talent, and is now in a system that seems to better utilize his characteristics. Recovery does not depend on a single play, but each interception boosts confidence and reduces pressure on the front office. The possibility of trading other players also depends on this scenario. If Martin and Owens establish themselves, Will Harris may become more negotiable. If the secondary continues to grow, Magee might be seen as an asset for another franchise. Even the receivers will be evaluated within this logic. Peters does not need to keep everyone. He needs to keep the strongest combinations. As a fan, it is hard to ignore how much the roster has changed in a few weeks. Burks, Brown, Jefferson, and Armstrong may still remain, but they might also bring something in the market. Magee and Harris face tough decisions, while Martin tries to reclaim the space that seemed lost. Jones's new system is creating opportunities, but each player needs to seize them quickly. The final decision will be guided by performance, health, cost, and projection. Peters can choose to maintain depth, trade an athlete, or accept that some contracts have come to an end. Martin, for his part, will have the regular season to prove that the summer signs are real. If the evolution continues, the Commanders will find an important internal solution for the secondary. In the end, the biggest question isn't just who will be cut or traded. It's knowing which players can change the value of the roster before the deadline. Quan Martin has already started that transformation on the field. If the safety maintains the reading, aggression, and consistency shown in the preseason, he could stop being a concern and turn into a central piece. Should Adam Peters trust in that recovery or seize the moment to trade Martin while his value is on the rise?